Aloha and welcome back. Now, by now, I hope that the first two videos have given you a lot of meat to chew on, if you will. And during this video, what I want to do is to take time and zoom in on the person of Jesus, as I make mention in the beginning of the first recording that I want to hone in my observation on the person of Jesus Christ as we consider the subject matter of divine guidance. Now, I also did mention that shuffling us from the back of the head or coming around us to, as will lead us this way and that way is probably not the most fanciest desired outcome that we necessarily want as we think about the subject matter of divine guidance. And I made the analogy of my own children that for any father, the idea of pushing our children towards the right direction is not the most desirable one as a parent, if you will. Now, let me add to that if you consider my 2-year-old son, his name is Warrior. If I would sort of come behind him to guide him towards the right direction, it would take him just perhaps 10 seconds to reach a distance that would not have been conceived in my mind he could cover it within 10 seconds. And I can guarantee you that won't be heading towards the right direction in my mind. Well, of course, it will be the most exciting direction to his mind and with one of the most gorgeous smile as he runs away and thinking to himself, I beat you to it. I beat you to it that. Now, enough of that. Let's come back to the person of Jesus as we observe him. I established in the general overview in the second video that Jesus stepped into a forbidden direction or a forbidden area of his say cultural upbringing. This is not an area he should be going if he consider himself a true Jew, if there has ever been such a term used in any text or a cultural context, the Apostle Paul will argue. But if we observe Jesus, could this be that Jesus was not just trying to be bold or, if you will, challenge the culture or the cultural status quo? Could this be that Jesus was responding to divine guidance, rather his ambitions to prove the culture wrong? If so, it might explain a lot why it was not necessary for Jesus to ask the disciple to join him on the adventure. Could this be one of those places where Jesus distinguished between leading his disciples and being led by the Father? Now think about that. He stepped out of the boat, is heading right into danger. The man came to confront him. Now, if you take a look in your mind's eyes, one only could wonder, what was the reaction of the disciples in the boat? They're calling out to Jesus, say, Rabbi, Rabbi, watch out. Or perhaps from few other experiences, they were pretty much aware of Jesus, could do by now. And so had the benefit of enjoying what may have been the best life movie in real life event. Then Jesus walked to this man. Is it possible that when Jesus had reacted, come out of the man, could that have been his humanity responding? A bit of a panic, dread, worries. A quick reaction without thinking. Notice, if any of these hold the test of observation, then Jesus was as human as you and I are today. But if none of this is related to Jesus, then his humanity could be disputed. For the text says, he had commanded the evil spirit to come out of the man, but we are not told. It may have happened as fast as we could not realize when it happens in the text. We call that self-control. And with the adrenaline rush, we call that, worries, anxiety, fear. I hope this is brought to you into a new observation of the person of Jesus, and that the Jesus the Bible presents us is not the one dressed in white robe, floating on his toes, with the ability to navigate against rocks, trees, and not even the dust of the earth keep his feet from getting dirty and stinky. That's my Jesus. Now, if he is as human as the Bible says he was fully human and fully God, then you and I can relate to him. So friends, after all, we just found out that panic, worry, and fear because of an incoming danger or a sudden occurrence of a situation like the pandemic, a sudden loss of a job, a sudden loss of income, a sudden unexpected a response or reaction to those, it's only human. So you may have just found out how human you are, and that up to this point you have just responded fine, that is, as a human being. And Jesus has rebuked the spirit and said, come out of him. Self-control. And suddenly, as that incoming danger abased, we see his maturity, his spiritual maturity, his divinity, if you will, take over. Now he's calm. He's subdued the danger. He's calm. What is your name? He asked. Now in this conversation, Jesus began putting value on the man. Notice what our own circumstances make us do. We place more value on us We put ourselves in the most valuable, most incredible, most supposedly most focal point in the events of life. But perhaps Jesus is giving us a secret. When we react to our circumstances, we can gain divine strength if we refocus on others who might need our help. In other words, where were you heading to before the danger strike? What had God told you before the pandemic? Now go back to those words, reread them again, and ask for clarity. How did you used to respond to people around you before the pandemic, before the situation you are in? Go back to that response and be yourself, and you'll find strength and grace. What is your name? Jesus asked. That same question is valuable to us today. That means I do not reject you for who you are. At this point, the man has not been set free, but he has to be aware at this point, Jesus is interested. It's not being rejected. Jesus is adding value. And Jesus is going to make him realize he's got much more to offer than to take or get. So if Jesus is following the direction of his Father, he's probably hearing something we are not hearing, which is absolutely human. That is to say, what you're hearing God telling you might not necessarily be what your close friend or spouse is hearing. So don't suppose people can know what God is telling you. You may have to speak or respond in according to the word of the Lord. You may have to share, pray over, and ask God for confirmation. Now, if you are like most people, you will equate people's opinion to be your confirmation, won't you? But unlike this man in the story, people's confirmation would not have done him any good, for they have chased the man who helped him. But let's come back to Jesus. And so Jesus is finished. The man is healed. And now he's been rejected himself. Watch this. Jesus is being, rejected. Jesus is being devalued by the people. And Jesus is being ridiculed to feel he has nothing to offer them. And he's been asked to leave. Now, if you were Jesus, how would you feel looking at this crowd of people from all over the city, knowing that God has told you you are called to reach this magnitude of people, and they just show up? And you probably were just fired up that this miracle has brought them. Therefore, on the basis of this miracle, I have a stage only to be told, get out. If you are Jesus, and as human and in his humanity, what do you think Jesus will be feeling? How will his emotions reflect at this point? Excited? Do you think he would have wished to be with them? He would have wished for them to give him just 5 minutes. He knows the power of God will enable them to reason after he speaks. Just give me 2 minutes to prove myself I'm innocent. Just give me a minute to explain. Can someone listen to me, please? I'm not who you think I am. That was not my intention. Don't worry about the pigs. I can give you 100 times more than the... Can I say something? Excuse me, please, can I say something? And can you hear the sound of the crowd saying to him, get out of here. Get out of this region. Leave now. And we have already established Jesus was out of the boat alone. Now, we don't know if the disciples had joined him by now. But the overwhelming crowd of people were not ready for negotiation or even a 5 seconds response from Jesus. Are you feeling like that? Everything I did was in obedience, in accordance to what I heard God asking me to do. And now I get this response, and now nobody seems to understand. You feel like nobody's listening to you. You feel like if you had 1 minute, you could clarify things. I have great news for you. You don't have to. Jesus didn't have to. Jesus didn't have to, and so are you, and you'll be just fine. So what is divine guidance to the man Jesus? Is divine guidance for Jesus reaching all these people like his calling has stated? Or is divine guidance distinguishing the act of obedience from living your calling? Now, I know this is deep stuff, and I will take time to unpack it in another instant. But as you ponder this question, consider this. What is divine guidance? Is divine guidance living your calling with established standard that are clean and clear at all times and in all circumstances and in every situation? Or is divine guidance distinguishing your obedience to God's direction, to a specific assignment or action within your calling, and sometimes could look contradictory to your understanding? I will submit to you, to understand divine guidance, we might need to lay down our perception of what divine guidance should be and observe what God has said, what God is saying, and then we might understand what God might be saying now. And so Jesus left. But the man who was free reached the multitude. I hope this bless you. Aloha.